And you're very welcome along to Off the Brawl on Off the Ball with me, Ronan Mullen, Andy Lee and Phil Egan. Plenty to get into on this week's show, including a brilliant week for the Irish amateurs in Minsk. But we'll start with this week's guest. Ray Moylette is in the studio. Ray, how are things?
I'm good, Ron. Thank you very much.
How's life?
Yeah, life is great. I suppose a lot of changes since I was in here last. New management under the watchful eye of Packy Collins, and a new fight date as well in Boston under the Murphy's banner, or Murphy's boxing banner. So yeah, but it's promising. And I think the last time I was here, I was in a crossroads. You know, I didn't know what was happening and where I was going with management and with fights. So thankfully now I have a bit of structure and a bit of guidance.
Yeah, and we'll have to get into all that. Andy Lee is here as well. Andy made his ring return on Friday.
Oh yeah.
How did that go?
It's good. Very good, yeah.
27 rounds, you said?
27 rounds. Like, I don't know if I was popular or they didn't like me because I had the most people. I got persuaded two of the people to win with Michael Crew because I knew the lads. They'd signed up to spar. I was like, lads, there's too many. I can't do this. 27. So I said, will you go in with Michael Crew? And they said, yeah, I do would. But it was good. It was a great cause for CF Ireland. It was a great atmosphere. And lots of parents of kids with CF, and they were very appreciative. So I was glad I did it, you know, because going up there, I was like, how did I get myself into this situation, you know what I mean? And then it was good fun. Paddy Barnes, John Nevin, Kenneth Egan and Michael Crute were all the boxers. And then I think there was like 60 people who'd signed up to do it. So there was a lot of money raised and a great night was had, yeah.
And were any of the lads taking it too seriously?
No, there was some guys who were taking it more serious. There was one guy in particular, yeah, and like we were just outside on the aisles, you know, in the stadium, like we weren't even in the dressing rooms. We were just hanging around, and like there was one guy and he was warming up. He had his own robe with his name on the back of this, and he was shadowboxing. He had his son, the kid, like taking photos. I thought, oh, this is sad, you know. Like he had his son take a video of me now, and then like he got in with me. But I'd seen on his way down, like he was there with his wife and his kids, and I was thinking, like before, I was thinking, I'm gonna put this phone and teach him a lesson, like let him know this is a real business here. But then I said, let him have his night. So I let him work me over a bit, and he can line off it now for a while, I think.
But I think like that, you know, you were saying he was taking pictures of him warming up and going in the ring with NDD. Like that's a big deal. That's on someone's show reel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like it was just there was a hint of like delusion about it all. You know, with a couple of them. You know what I'm saying?
Could edit that to say Andy Lee schooled by novice.
Well, I was actually thinking that as well. Like, you know, that some of these videos, I have to be careful because these videos will be going around, you know, the WhatsApp sphere, and like if I ever do get caught a good one, I'll be. No, it was all in good. It was all done in the right spirits. That most people were there for the right reason, just to raise money and have a bit of crack. And it was good, yeah.
But sometimes it is hard to go easy sparring, you know, because you will get caught with silly shots.
Yeah.
If even someone that doesn't know what they're doing, it's like, how do you predict what they're going to do? You know, so it is.
Early on in the spot, it's like the first time I went in with the first 7, I was letting him hit me and I was just taking on the gloves, but then I could feel myself marking up for my own gloves, and I said,
yeah. It's not worth it.
It's going to look bad now, coming home. While my wife say,
yeah, see the other guy.
Just cut that out. Yeah, it was a great night, and so I'll definitely do it again, just because of but I'll make sure I train next time. That was the first time I was in the ring in 2 years.
Comeback.
First time I'd really done any exercise in 2 years.
It's the hunger back.
I actually, no, you kind of, like, towards the end, you kind of getting those reflexes again, you know, you're kind of slipping and, like, letting shots go, and you're thinking, oh, this is actually good fun again, you know, just enjoying it.
And Ray, you mentioned the unorthodoxy there. We were just talking about Artem Lobov off there, and how difficult is it to read someone who doesn't really know what they're doing?
Yeah, like, it's hard to be able to read someone when they're coming in unconventional, you know, so they're throwing jabs like that. Maybe you shouldn't be throwing a jab, or it's very straight and very direct. But like when I'm boxing out for all my life, and I've seen everything. But then when they do something that's not in the script, you know, it's hard to react to it. But now there's never any danger with it. But it is a little bit uncomfortable, and it might catch you off
hit
guard.
more of a fella who doesn't know what he's doing.
I think so,
than someone who doesn't know what.
Because like he doesn't know what he's doing himself. So like there's no way you can know. Whereas if I was in with Andy, I could try and, because I know how complex it is and how he would be thinking.
Yeah.
So I'd be able to beat him easy that way. But no, but I'd be able to read him. I'd be able to read well and try and figure out what he would do. No, I probably wouldn't. But I mean, you weren't about a great example.
Oh, you're throwing on next year at the CF Challenge.
I'm just saying, from a top boxer, you could nearly work off his patterns.
You can see, you know what's going to happen.
Then a novice coming off the street, you don't know what they're going to do. You know, so but there's never any danger in it. But
so is Pascal managing you now?
Yeah, Pascal is co-managing now. But to be honest with you, there's not an awful lot of managing with me, because over the last couple of years, since I turned over, I made a lot of links, you know, through King Casey and Murphy's in Boston, and I have a lot of support over there, and Packy sort of just guided me over there. You know, we didn't need to be ringing up any other promoters.
It was unusual because you were with Assassins, but you were still fighting on Murphy's.
Yes, yeah, I was
more so, if not.
I was sort of loaned out. I was sort of subcontracted out to Murphy's. So the reason it all sort of came about was the only reason I signed with Assassin was I said I want 10 fights in the first year, and like that's a big investment for any management company to be able to guarantee you. But they couldn't. So they wanted to get my signature on paper, but they couldn't really fulfill what they said they were doing. So then they sort of loaned me out to other promoters and get me fighting. But that actually worked to my advantage, that when I did pull away from Assassin, I had my own links made up, that I wasn't in limbo, and I knew exactly where I was going after that. And it was good, obviously, to start your career as well. There's nothing too major, you know, no dangerous fights or anything. So it was nice to be able to box in England, Ireland, America, you know, see all these different places. And then by the time I came to make my decision, I knew exactly where I wanted to go.
And Larry Friars is the fight at hand, and we'll get to that shortly. But all this talk of European success for the Irish amateurs calls to mind Ankara in 2011, and like, what are your memories of that? Must be fun.
Like it does. I obviously haven't thought about it for a long time, but looking at the European Games there now and looking at Kurt Walker win the gold, like it has to draw your mind back, you know. But I probably didn't realise how big of a deal it was when I actually did win it.
You were probably the first European champion in a long time.
No, I wasn't. I was at the Europeans in Moscow, and Paddy Barnes won them.
Really? Yeah.
And I got beaten in my first fight on a countback, and your man went on to win a medal, you know. So I always knew I was close, but boxing's hard to weigh up, you know. So I got beaten by a countback, and your man went on. I think he actually went on to win the gold in Moscow, and even coming home on the plane, like, we were just members of the team. But like Paddy Barnes, Ken Egan got a bronze, Darren Neal got silver, Eric Donovan got
2009.
Yeah, 2010. Eric Donovan got a bronze as well, and all the attention was on them fellas. And like, we were at the airport, it was a horrible feeling. And I said I'd never want that to happen to me again. So the next year the Europeans were on, and I went over, and I had 5 fights there in 7 days or something. I ended up fighting Tom Stalker in the final. He was the captain of GB. He was a good lad. We were in Sheffield training camp for maybe 2 weeks before we went out to Ankara in Turkey, and he was beating me around the ring in the training camp, and it was a hard couple of weeks, because the sparring was so hard and so intense with everything, and I wasn't able to keep up. But by the time I ended up fighting him in the final, I beat him by over 10 points, I think, in the end, and I just hit it on the money, and every right hand I threw, I hit him with.
What changed though in the?
I think there was no pressure on me. I had my medal in the bank. This was the final.
Yeah.
Had my medal in the bank, and I just went out there and enjoyed it. As in, I didn't, like, I went out there sort of saying, I don't this fella's after have beaten me up for the last couple of weeks, how will I work around this? But I said, have a medal in the bag, so I just go out and put on a show for myself. And I ended up throwing a few right hands and catching them, and I was even in shock, you know, by it. I haven't watched it back now or anything, but...
Remember that?
Oh yeah, that was actually 2008. That was the World Championships. First major medal. Even that's a distant memory as well. But I remember going. I actually wanted to pack in boxing maybe 6 months before that. I wanted to leave school, pack in boxing, and go work with my uncle as a carpenter. So I waited on. I done my leaving cert that June or July, and that championship was in October in Mexico. And I said, I'm going over on the plane, and I said, I just want to win one fight. And I ended up winning. I won 5 fights in 7 days, but I beat in the final Daniel Yeluzanov, the Kazakh Thunder. Is he the Kazakh Thunder, whatever? But he's Olympic gold medalist now, and I beat Fred Evans. He was Olympic silver medalist in London. Yeah, so I beat him for a medal as well, and I beat a Cuban as well in one of the fights. So I've mixed it with a lot of them, you know, but I forgot about all that until it popped up there. But it's frustrating because that was in 2008 and the social media wasn't really a thing, and it sort of went under the cover, you know. Looking back on it, I'm delighted to have won it, but you know, if I won that today, it would have been a bigger deal with everything. And as well, I was just telling my wife Sharon, just like I seen Joe BT an Air Sport were covering the European Games, and when I was in Moscow, RT actually came over and done a feature for the Europeans, and when the 5 lads won medals. And the following year, when I won the gold, there was no media coverage really. You know, I just fell in between 2 stools. Now it's no one's fault or anything, but I just missed out on that bit extra publicity that could always help, you know. But I still came back with the medals, which was the main thing, you know.
Yeah, and the depth at European level, Andy, is something we've spoken about. You would have won 2 European medals the year of Athens. So, like, you would have been mixing at that level and known what was coming almost.
Yeah, it's been said before, and it's like, I'm sure it's like, I don't know if the football relates to like the soccer. It's just like every country is good in Europe. They're all good. They have a history and tradition in boxing. Whereas if you go to the Worlds or the European or the Olympics, you might fight someone from Togo or someone from, you know, New Zealand or somewhere, Guyana. They don't have a great tradition and they don't have great technique or great boxers, but they get sent as representatives, so you can get a few easy fights and find yourself with a medal, you know, with a medal before you have to fight somebody. So Europeans always, like, that's what I always take notice of. Like, to win the European medal really means something. So yeah, they've done extremely well, the whole team, you know.
Yeah, well, when you look at the first games 4 years ago, you look at the team, Katie Taylor, Michael O'Reilly, Brendan Irvine, Sean McComb, all won medals. Then you think of the build-up to this, one of our main prospects, Joe Ward, gone pro, and here we come back with 6 medals.
Also Brendan Irvine, with an injury. Yeah. So it's in some ways you have to take your hat off to the coaches and the high performance in some ways, in that they do have a system or whatever it is. I'm sure they're evolving all the time, but it's working. It's consistently working, isn't it? And like Kurt Walker's been around a while, hasn't been, you know, kind of always playing second fiddle to Michael Conlon, I guess. And now that Michael's gone, he's getting the attention and he's coming to the fore. And you can see that he's, with the attention he's getting, he's producing. Like, in just the class of the box, even like Kerry Harrington, seeing how she boxes and goes about it, and Michaela Walsh, like they're operators, you know, they're technically very, very good, and they're world class amateur boxers. So it's good to see.
But like, even looking back on the last Olympics in Rio 16, you know, it was a disaster games with everything, with Michael Conlon getting robbed and Michael O'Reilly getting pulled out and Katie Taylor on the verge with their own issues, you know. But boxing was nearly thrown to the curb then. It was, it's gone. But they were so close to getting medals, them all. Joe Ward got caught. Paddy Barnes struggled with the weight. You know, there were little issues, but it was all painted over, as in it was a failure. You know, there was nothing one punch would have got Michael Collin at it. Well, you know, so that could have been still a very successful game. So it's not like boxing has just grown overnight to this level now. It was always at this high level. But sometimes you need breaks in boxing, and we didn't get them in Rio. So I just feel that it was tarnished a small bit, and I think everyone thinks now something has changed. I'm sure not a lot has changed, but I'm sure that they're still operating at a very high level, which they were then, I'm sure, as well. But it's just good to see that the results are coming now. You know, as I said, one of them could have, like Kurt Walker, could have lost one of them fights in the first round, you know, on a very narrow split decision, even a decision that might went against him, and he'd be forgotten about. Whereas now he's a gold medalist, and he's a champion of Europe over just one or two punches, you know. So the margins are so small that you can't just blacken it when it doesn't happen. You know, the work is being put in all the time, I'm sure, with everything. And it's great to see that finally they're getting the green when it's probably most important, coming close to Olympic qualification.
That's the unfortunate thing of it, though, that people are judged on success. So, like Rio, because there was no medals in boxing, people would have deemed it as a failure. And what had gone on beforehand in terms of, like, Michael Conlon was going over there to win. He was a world champion. He was going over to win. Katie Taylor was going over to win. And when it didn't happen, people automatically just write it off. They don't see what goes on in the background. But so much of it is on the day. Like, obviously Kelly Harrington didn't get to fight in the final because he had a hand injury. You mentioned Paddy Barnes there. It was clear in Rio that the weight was an issue. And, you know, he was going over to win another medal. But if we don't win medals, then people think, oh, maybe that's the end of the road. Boxing is on the
like in retrospect, like in Rio with Billy Walsh leaving, kind of the negative press that was there, and then first day Michael O'Reilly getting done for a drug test, and then it was just kind of escalating. There was this kind of dark cloud hanging over them, and as Ray said, you know, I thought Katie won the fight against Potkovin, is her name, the Finnish lady, and it was funny that that's who Kelly Harrington would have had to fight, wouldn't it? That would have been a nice little story about it, you know.
Maybe they're saving it for Tokyo.
Yeah, there's going to be a nice little rivalry there. Like, Kelly get revenge for Katie. And it would probably be kind of poetic as well, because Kelly's always she always plays second figure. She's kind of established herself in her own right now, but for a long time, Katie Taylor's the only name in female boxing in Ireland. But now if she's the one to avenge Katie in Tokyo Olympics, that'll be something.
Some people still call her Katie.
Yeah, some people, some clowns say that. But it is like, you know, with the results and with all that, no matter how good you are, you need some luck. But in another sense, there's a saying that the harder you work, the luckier you get. So it all balances out in the end. And it's like, if you're actually really putting it in the gym and emptying the tank every day and sacrificing, you'll get those breaks. You will get those breaks. You know, kind of, I don't, it's very rare that you find someone who actually, maybe Conlon in Rio, but who does everything right, extremely, you know, and knows that this fight is big. Don't look past, like, take everything into consideration, not overestimating themselves, not underestimating their opponent, you know, like, just being fully prepared mentally, physically, and doing everything in preparation. You will get the right result if you're good enough. Maybe Mike Conlon's the only exception to that, but generally you work hard, you get the breaks.
And Zora has obviously been a cornerstone of the whole thing for a long time, but how much credit does Bernard Dunn need for having turned that tide that had been brewing after Rio?
Well, I think, he's kind of, and in some sense, like, Velcro, that he's given Bernard the autonomy to do what he wants, and, like, he's doing it his way. And I'm not sure the ins and outs of it, because I'm not out there on a daily basis, I wouldn't know. But from all accounts, Bernard runs the show. And if you're late for training, you're gone. If you know, so it's very strict, and he's kind of steadied the ship. And with Zor being there, there's a continuation of the techniques and the teaching. So the whole team have to be commended for the job they've done. John Conlon as well is very experienced, very wise, knows the game inside out, and knows knows the fighters, and not like in terms of the way Billy Walsh would know if, you know, being Irish, knowing the tricks, like in terms of if someone's not really putting it in or someone is acting out outside of the ring, you know, that he'd be able to identify those things. So it seems like they're on a good path. But like, you could easily be talking about that Irish boxing's in a crisis. Those decisions, sometimes it's a flip of a coin, isn't it? They're so tight, those fights. So it's good news now, and hopefully they'll ride this wave.
And just on Kurt Walker, like, it's as creditable as a performance as you can get. Like, beat the 1 and 2 seeds on his way there, you know, and he's close to Michael Conlan and the Collins generally, and kind of stepped out of his shadow. Not that there was any acrimony there, but it was just Conlan was just naturally in his way. So it's just the Olympics might be a little bit tricky for him, given that bantamweight has kind of hit the skids, and although featherweight has come down, so he's just going to have to move up 1 kilo basically to try and...
What is it, 56 kilos?
He's 56 now, and 57 is the Olympic weight.
It'll be fine for him. I think it'll be fine. It's not a huge leap.
No, there's no issue. That's like
bag of sugar in the shorts.
It might even suit him a little bit better. You know, I don't know if he struggles making the weight or not, but he obviously doesn't, because he's performing well. But a kilo is nothing to move up. You know, it's if anything, it might aid him in his training. You know.
And Michaela Walsh, who picked up silver, I've always been so impressed with her temperament as much as her skills, because her skills are undeniable. But we spoke with Anthony Joshua last month, Andy, and how easy he was with the loss. She was so visibly annoyed to pick up silver, which in itself is a good achievement. And it bodes well that she's not satisfied for second best.
That's what, you don't. Sometimes you want to see it as well, but she's like, in time short now, she's really proud and happy with what she's done. Kind of like Paddy Barnes when he got the bronze, in Beijing. But,
he was a loser, he said, to have a bronze medal.
It was good. Like, it's good. It's a good attitude to have. It's that Roy Keane self, you know, that self-drive. But like, the whole team performed well. Even the ones that didn't medal, boxed to a high standard. And there's so many, like the 6 of them medaling, it's kind of you could easily leave somebody out without praising them, but they all did really well. Like, I thought Michael Nevin boxed extremely really well, and he kind of set the tone because he was in early, and he was one of the first ones to box, and then he kind of got them off to a winner, and that's important too when you're away on a team.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in a team and you go away and like 2 of the lads get beaten the first day, and it's like, it's kind of just, it does bring everybody down a bit, you know, and like, it's important to get off to a winning start just to keep the buzz going, because there is a competitive nature, and there's also, you care about the person, like your teammates. So no, like, I thought Michael never boxed really well. Now the fight in which he lost, you know, it was a tough fight, but he got hit with the forearm and went down. But I think he could be one, like, for like him and Gabriel Dawson's an interesting situation now when it comes to the elites next year, or what way it goes with the qualifying. Like, who has the bigger shout to go to the next to the World Championships, if there is a World Championships. But it's an interesting situation there.
And even Grania Walsh, who went there and medalled, was in a similar situation, because Christina Desmond, in a really good fight at the seniors, beat her. And it was actually similar, Grania's loss in this tournament. It was just range. It was against a longer opponent, and she's going to come up against that because she's basically moved up to an unnatural weight to try and make the Olympics. She'd probably be more comfortable lower down. But
with every passing month or whatever it is, she's adapting more, and she's getting more used to fighting bigger people. Yeah. And she's training and picking up the skills in order to do that. So, like, Christina will have to be on guard now for her future, you know.
It shows the depth we've got, that Grania can go and medal in European level.
Only 2 in every weight they could medal, you know, with everything.
And Regan Buckley, like, almost most impressive that he's gone from amateur to pro and back again, and, you know, picked up where he left off almost.
Yeah, because when you dish the vest and turn pro, it's nearly frowned upon to go back to the vest, you know. And I don't know, would I've been able to make that decision? I'd nearly be I don't know, I would have found it very hard to do it, but he obviously was man enough to do it and stuck to his guns, and he's been rewarded for it now, you know, to have 2 fights, the professional, and then say it's not for me, and go back to the amateurs, and then try and qualify for the Olympics and medal at the Europeans. Like, it's a fairy tale story, really, you know. Whereas it could have been, it was very easy to, if it didn't work for him, it was very easy to tell him that he should have stayed professional. You know, he was coming for controversy if he didn't medal. You know, so there was a little bit of pressure on him, but not to him. He's a nice young fella, and he's very outgoing and bubbly with everything, and he just loves his boxing. So I'm delighted for him as well. He was, when I was leaving the team in 2016, he was sort of coming in, and I always remember he sort of, I'm not looked up to him or anything like that, but I was sort of one of the seniors there, and he sort of, anything I said, sort of, he believed, you know, whether it was true or not. But so I
taking some credit now.
Yeah. No, well, I didn't. Yeah. No, I'm not even talking about boxing, just in general. So it's good that I see these guys developing. You know, like even Grania Walsh, Michaela Walsh, and even Kurt Walker. They were always part of the team, and they're all just sort of floating around. You know, they were never the big names, the Katie Taylors and Michael Conlons or whatever like that. But now it's great to see them at the top. But it just shows you how quick things are progressing and how everything is moving on. You know, like there's amateur boxing especially is bigger than just one name, you know, and like Kate Taylor's out of the equation, like all these guys are out of the equation, but yet there's people coming in, Kelly Harrington taking their place. And in a couple of years too, Kelly Harrington will be gone from there and a few more, and there'll be someone else taking their place. So it's good to see that the conveyor belt of talent coming through.
Yeah, and a great weekend in Minsk, but a sad note on the amateur scene, Andy. Kevin Sheehy obviously passed away, a club mate of yours. Still an open investigation, but a tragic loss of life, really.
Yeah, shocking yesterday. Like, we got the news that it was what had happened to him, you know, and you just don't never think about those type of things, you know. And then, it was funny because I woke up and I'd read the news that a man had been killed in a hit and run, and then I get a text during in the morning saying that it was Kevin. And like I can't claim that I knew him, I only met him a handful of times, but he was like a lovely young man, very pleasant, very focused, I must say. Like, he was focused and determined and confident, because I'd always meet him in the stadium and he would always kind of be in that kind of mindset. But he was talented too, you know. He was a good southpaw, and for a heavyweight, you know, he would have been attractive. He would have been an attractive prospect for a lot of people in the pros, being Irish, being that weight and having that kind of a slick style. He would have been a prospect, you know. And I'm not sure if he would have made this Olympics, but certainly the next Olympics, 2024, he would have been tipped for that, you know. It's a sad, tragic loss. Like, it's just a waste of life. Like, and yeah, it's just you just think like of his family and that, don't you? Like, it's hard to get your head around, isn't it? It's not like yesterday all night just thinking about him, like, you know, like in the just a sad situation.
Puts everything into perspective, really. You know, he like he's part of, like, there's sort of an unwritten rule, like the boxing family is sort of all together. Like, I came on him a few times, but I wouldn't really know him either. But like, my sympathies go out to his family now and to everything. Like, I know how hard it is to be a boxer coming up and with everything and all the hardship he would have went through. So it's just disappointing that it's ended like this for him, you know, especially with family on the way as well. And even for St. Francis Boxing Club, you know, I was down there through all my underage boxing and was always well looked after with Ken Moore and all them, and great people.
He was the biggest star in the club, you know, for the last number of years, because he was always winning the championships, and anytime you see Ken Moore, you'd see Kevin, you know, they'd be together, and there's going to be a huge void in the club now with him gone. I'm sure it's going to take a long time for them to process it, as well as everybody else who knew him well, you know. So yeah, tough situation all around.
Yeah, all we can do is send condolences to the Sheehy family. Just to switch to the pro boxing scene, rattle through this, that Lee Reeves got picked up a win, but there was disappointment for Paul Hyland against Patera in Milan. A brave effort, but came up short. And a shock defeat for Dylan Moran, who surprisingly knocked out on his American debut. But just on the pro side, Ray, you have a fight coming up now this month?
I have in 2 weeks' time, actually. July 12th.
Oh,
Boston, the Encore Casino in Boston Harbour, which is a brand new top of the range facility, casino, resort.
Headline?
I'm co-feature.
Lovely.
Greg Vendetti, he's a local lad there. He's headlining for, I think he's headlining for a belt as well. But I'm actually fighting for the New England junior welterweight title, which is good to to go straight back into a title fight, it shows good confidence in my team that they're ready to put me straight back in. Initially, I thought after my loss in Castlebar that I might need to be go through a little rebuild, a small rebuild, maybe one or two handier fights that just get my confidence even back. But things have been going great at training, and when this opportunity came up, Ken Casey made the call to Packy saying the big fight date on July 12th. So it's the first ticketed event at this casino, and it's I think it's a 3,000 seater indoor event, and I think it's a pretty big deal. The casino only opened a week ago, and it's been blown up to this something very big. It's probably the closest I can get to Vegas at this point, with it. But so they need very competitive fights there, and they need entertaining fights.
What's your take on Fries? What's you looking at him from the outside?
Yeah, he's busy. He's strong. He's come forward. There's plenty of holes in his armoury too. I know his heart and his will is probably higher than his skill level. This is a big fight for him. I think this could be his biggest fight, and he probably has a lot to prove. He has good support coming from New York and all that, and he probably is trying to prove a lot to them. Now, this is the biggest fight of my career because it's my next fight, and every fight, your next fight is always your biggest fight. But I'm using this to get back on track for myself.
And what do you think about going into this fight after a loss, big loss? Not a big loss, but it was a high-profile loss. It was on TV here, and it was your homecoming. Your confidence, has it affected your confidence, would you say? Or?
Probably at the start it did. Go back in training, getting back sparring, and getting hit, I suppose, and saying, I'm getting worried here. I wonder what that
how will you react?
Yeah, how will I react? But it's 6 months now, and I'm in the gym since the end of January. With all the controversy with contracts and everything, it's been the delay. Maybe it's a godsend that I had to stay training until this actual point, and the training is going very good. I'm getting hit, and I'm confident getting hit, and there's no problem with that. And I'm hitting back plenty as well. So my weight is good. I'm actually fighting at a higher weight, which is 140, and I know.
Did you have problems with the weight before?
I didn't actually have problems. I know there's an issue there, and
a lot of people said that.
Yeah, a lot of people did, but no one.
That's the word. Like, the unofficial word that you had.
I know, but who are these people? Like, I know, like it was a scapegoat. I could have said, yeah, the weight affected me and it was a problem, but I didn't have an excuse. I put everything into that, and I did everything right. Though I felt. Now there was an hour before the weigh-in where I just had to jump into the bat to get rid of 2 pounds, and I was on the phone. Up to that, I was reading a book. I was flying, but when I came out of the bat now, I was a bit shaky. But that was like for 20 minutes before the weigh-in, and when I weighed in, then I fueled straight back up. But looking back on it now, the two times I got dropped in a fight was when I was down at that weight, and I'd done a small bit of research. That, like to make that weight, I obviously have to get rid of a lot of fluid in my body. And when you lose fluid from all your body, when you go that extra bit, you lose fluid from around your brain. And obviously you can't put that back on straight away. So by the time it comes to fight, it's only 36 hours later. And you don't have the tolerance or the defense against a punch maybe that you would have if you were at your walking around weight, or if you didn't have that fluid drained. So, like, the shot I got caught with, it wasn't even a shot, but I had no tolerance to defend myself against it, and I just hit the ground. And I'm going to be controversial now as well. With the second knockdown, I was off balance, I was falling, and he just sort of pushed me off balance, and I ended up... We're
going to pull a replay up here.
Yeah, no. But... because I have watched that fight back now a lot of times, and if that wasn't a knockdown, the second one, the fight would end at a draw, because I have the scorecards at home as well. But it wasn't a knockdown, so I was pushed off balance with it. But the first one, I wasn't even a punch. Like, it wasn't As in, it was a punch.
Yeah.
No, it was a punch. But I got hit with plenty of harder shots in training, and I could defend myself.
You said that you've watched it and you had to score. So obviously, it's still there. Like, it's still there.
Yeah.
What do you put the loss down to? What do you identify?
I probably.
Besides the weight.
Yes, I probably traded with him too much, and I tried to stand and box him because I thought initially I thought that he was busy but he wasn't strong. So I said, lovely, I can match. I'll be able to defend myself against this fella and then outbox him in the later rounds. But he hurt me to the body early on, and then every time he hit me after that, it was sore, and then when being hurt to the body as well, so you have the initial pain that's there, but it also takes the wind out of the sails. So your movement becomes compromised. So by the time then I had to move, I was labouring. So I ended up winning round 6, 7, 8 on all the judges' cards, but it was too late. If I started at boxing, a little bit more amateur style.
It's very hard to come back from 2 knockdowns.
Yeah.
It's very hard, isn't it?
But not even...
an 8-round fight.
Yeah, but no, 10 rounds.
Was it 10 rounds?
Yeah, 10 rounds.
Yeah.
But not even a knockdown, so the rounds was 10-7, but that's okay. But what it took out of my body, like the wind out of your body, getting
of course,
hit.
Your legs aren't the same.
They're
Even
not.
when you're on the stool, and they're saying, just move this round. And you know yourself, I'm not going to be able to get around this ring.
But I actually did it for the next 3 rounds.
Yeah, you boxed.
I know, but I think if I could have started like that, I was so drawn to the stereotype, as in, I can stand and trade with this guy and he's not going to hurt me. But I was wrong at that. So, and if I can move after that, after being hurt, and if I can move after that, surely I can plan my fight to be able to move from the round 1. When I'm fresh.
How would you compare the Mexican opponent to Fry's?
Similar style, not as clinical.
Don't say as strong now, because you know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I haven't been hit. I'm not going to say it. No, I said not as clinical, which means, like, looking back at that Mexican.
How many times have you watched the fight?
Probably 6. Yeah, 6.
Don't watch it again now.
No, but he's professional 10 years, and he had the what would you call
seasoning?
The seasoning or the what would you, the seasoning. So he knew going to the body early would have affected me. And like he had over 20 fights, and he's mixed. In Mexico too, there's no easy fights, but. He was smarter than me in the ring. I had more boxing skill, but he was smarter in the art.
Opponent now. Look at me.
We probably could have, but I don't regret the fight at all. I think people needed to see what I'm all about. That's me out and out. I went out on my shield. I went out there and I put everything in, and people now know how real my career is. Yeah. And like the support I've got since that fight has been second to none.
Like what you will learn from that, instead of some people who are out there fighting absolutely fighting nobodies and got undefeated records and trying to pull the wool off of people's eyes by saying I'm an undefeated fighter, but they've absolutely fought nobody. Yeah. And they're going to continue to fight nobody, and they're never going to go anywhere. Yeah. And if they ever do step up to fight even half a test, they're going to get beat because they've been used to fighting nobodies and facing no resistance. Yeah. So like, it will stand to you, the fight, but it's how you overcome it mentally. It's not as physically. It's nothing. It's just mentally. And it seems like you've got the right. And I think if you can beat Fry's, that'll be the big step. It's only getting back in there and doing it again is the only way. As much as you want to, and it's unfortunate you've had this long layoff because you have to dwell and live with that fight. But it wasn't a crushing defeat in the sense that you lost. You got dropped in the hurt, but the way you came back and fought on, despite being hurt, despite being tired, despite fighting somebody who's much more experienced than you and stronger probably at that weight. Yeah. Like that's all the credit you got to take from it,
Yeah,
like the fight's on Friday. Friday. So when would you fly over?
Well, we're actually flying over the Monday. Yeah. So a couple of days.
This big casino putting you up in the suite now.
Maybe not this time. But I hope to pack it out and give them a good entertaining fight, and they'll want me back again. That's like boxing it's entertainment and it's a business at the end of the day. So I'm going to have to put on a show. Winning will not cut it anymore. I'm at a level where I need to start. I need to get my name out there. People need to know who I am. I need to be distinctive. So yeah, I hope to put on a show, and next time I'll be in the high roller suite, and you'll be welcome over.
Yeah, just give us
anytime.
Give us the room key.
But like that gap out of the ring, Ray, like you've been so busy in your pro career and not having an opponent until relatively recently, did that mean when you were going to camp you were just focusing on yourself and your own game rather than trying to think of tactics for your opponent?
When you put it like that, yeah, definitely. I had to, like, I had 6 months there, just myself and Packy, and if he was getting me doing drills, and like I'd challenge him on it, because I'd be very one way myself, and I like to do things that I like to do, you know. But when someone's telling you to do something, it's not clicking, and it's hard, and sometimes you're getting hit and sparring because you're trying this one thing. But I had enough time to continue trying it until it worked before any fight, you know. Whereas before, we're in and out of fights. If anything, Packy would just help me with weight management for the first 2 years, because I was in and out of fights, hadn't time to really to start building on a style or to develop new skills. So thankfully now we had the time to spend with each other. And Niall Kennedy and Spike fought in March, and they sort of haven't been in the gym a whole lot. Now they're coming back to the gym now as well. So I was sort of single-handedly in the gym, and Packy was sort of, it was a one-to-one basis, you know, whereas you could, like, just by fluke as well, just with the way fight dates fell. So I really benefited from that as well, to be able to just work with him one-on-one and take the time to learn the skill, you know, because you can't pick it up overnight. Especially when I have so much knowledge in the boxing ring, you know, the little 1% here and there they're hard to get, you know, and that's what we're looking for. So
how hard is it when you're looking at the likes of Niall and Spike going off the fight, and you're thinking, geez, I'd love to be going off for a fight?
Yeah, especially when they went out to Boston, they were...
Did they not invite you?
They probably did invite me, yeah, but I wasn't in a position to go. I haven't fought since December, so, and I'm not working, I'm a full-time professional, so I wouldn't have been able to go with them. But no, I wouldn't begrudge them for going over. I'd obviously want them to do well.
On a personal level.
Yeah, I'd say I'd love to be part of that group, but knowing that they were going over, they were sort of like, they paved the way for me, really. Before I joined Packy, Spike and Niall were over fighting with Murphys, you know, and when I joined the team, they brought me along with them, you know, so it's through their help that I have this opportunity, you know. So, but I would like to be, like, there's go crack after the fights too, you know, even after.
The fallout with Assassins, what can you say or what can't you say about that?
Yeah, there was a misunderstanding with a couple of issues, and it was ongoing for a couple of weeks, and I was tied into a contract, and we ended up splitting amicably, and both of us, we left the party. They released me from my contract, and I withdrew any statements or charges I had, not charges, but withdrew anything I had against them, and we just left it at that. And I wish them the best as they continued on, even though they were probably dented after all that. And it was very hard to come back from it.
Just that way, instead of dragging it out.
Yeah, like I didn't want to drag it out, because at the end of the day, it was my career that was going to suffer. As in, I wouldn't be fighting in 2 weeks' time. It could be next year when I'm fighting.
Shelved,
And shelved, and for the sake of a small issue that I can correct it now on July 12th, you know. So,
and in a way, it's probably, in the long run, it's kind of going to be a blessing if you have more control of your career. And
I definitely have more control over my career, and I'm dealing with one man now. So Packy is direct with everything, and he's direct then to King Casey.
And it's always, to me, it's always a benefit. There's like manager and trainer to be the same person, because that's who's seeing you day to day and knows what you're going through, is going through it with you, you know. I just think there's so much more benefits to having.
And it's nearly not profit for Packy at this stage. Like, Packy he's invested in me now, you know what I mean, because there's no profit on me anyway at the minute. So he's doing all this now because he wants to do it and he wants to help me, and he sees a future.
Wait till you're world champion.
Yeah.
He was like, you were clever, Pascal, you were very clever back in the day.
Yeah. Well, Packy's clever now, yeah, whatever. But, like, the middleman is gone now. So now I'm like, so you need a manager to negotiate things and get you into positions and all that. But over the last 2 years, as I said, I've sort of made these links myself. So as Packy is my trainer now, and he's managing, but there's not much to manage because we know exactly what we're doing and what we want and where we're going. So things are falling into place. But the middleman is gone, and I'm in a far better position now moving forward. But I was disappointed to see Assassins finished up completely. You know, that wasn't my intention or my goal. You know, because I know the boxers got sidelined as well, and they've no manager now. So I was disappointed with that. But if things weren't running accordingly, maybe that was what had to be done, you know. But I was disappointed to see, because they had put on good shows in Ireland, you know, and at the start of my career they took me on, and I wouldn't have been I wouldn't probably be in this position now without them at the start. So, you know, there is a time and place for everything, and when I was with them, when I needed them, but I feel I've outgrown them now.
Were you in the gym yesterday?
I was.
Jerry Cooney was in?
Yeah, lovely man. I didn't know an awful lot about him until Packy sent a message during the week to say he was coming up on Monday, and I obviously done my research on him then. But as soon as I went up to him, as soon as I went in the gym, I was a little bit late, and there was like 100 people, 150 people in the gym, all kids running around, and he was over at one of the rings. There was a few lads in sparring, and I just went over. I made a beeline straight to him and shook hands, and I didn't say hello to anyone else when I went in. I just went straight over to Jerry, and he spent 10 minutes talking to me, you know, and telling me just about professional boxing and about Boston. He knew King Casey as well, and asked me about my record, and like very down to earth, exactly how I would like to be in a couple of years' time. You know, he gave everyone loads of time, and there was no airs or graces about him. He was the real deal, you know. And I'd love to meet him again at some stage, you know. And I could sit down and have a cup of coffee with him, no problem, you know. Whereas some people at a very high level, you know, they nearly not look down on people, but they might be able to hold a conversation. But I could connect with him, and he could connect with those little kids running around. He could connect with them as well. So just a gentleman, really, out of the ring, and lovely to see him. I wanted to see too how was all his faculties intact. You know, in the war, he was sharp. He was on the ball. He spoke great.
Did he show his left hook?
He didn't show me his left
serious
hook.
power. Who said that he was the most powerful? One of the most powerful was a Foreman.
I think it was Foreman. Yeah.
Boxers ever fought.
I was at a panel discussion with him, and it was all the heavyweight champions, and he was there. He wasn't a heavyweight champion, but like, out of what you talked about,
Wilder Fury.
Yeah, they had this table of they had every champion there, like all the champions from years, like, and you spoke about his facilities. Like he was most. You could see that even though he probably took a lot more punishment than some of them, he was speaking a lot more clearly and had a lot more about him than those. Like, and it was quite sad actually that these guys who were champions, like of Spinks, Leon Spinks was there. Who else was there? There was
Lennox Lewis was there.
Lewis was there. Him besides Holyfield was there. Reddick Bowe was there, and it was hard to see him because they couldn't. Half of them just put a paragraph together, you know, and overcome it like without stumbling. And with Jerry, the complete opposite.
Yeah,
and it was kind of like, you know, this guy who was never at their level, and look at how it ended. Like the price they paid to have that glory in the early stages of their life, they're paying for it now.
And you mentioned Boston and Dropkick Murphys and all that, and it's become a bit of a home for you because you've been there. This is your 8th fight over there. And any excuse for Packy to go back to Boston as well.
That's it, yeah.
And your brother's over there as well?
Yeah, I have a brother over there, Adrian. He's over there over 20 years now. And there's a massive Irish community over there, and between Packy knowing everyone over there, and if he doesn't know them, he'll tell you he knows them anyway. And my brother Adrian, and then so we live in Dorchester. King Casey has a house there, so that's where we stay. So there's a local coffee shop. We go down, and everyone. There's a load of people from Connemara there, people from Limerick, people from all over, and they all know us now. So there's like a little community there that we're part of, and they all come to the fights, you know, and like they're really on board with us. The Irish lads coming over fighting, and like it's great. I love it. To be honest with you, it's probably one of my favourite places to go. Over fighting, especially.
All going well, you beat Fry's, like it's not going to be as easy as that. But you say all going well. How soon do you want to be back in?
I'm hoping to be back out in September. So I know. So I'm going to come home. I sort of like. Obviously, you don't overlook one fight, but we still need to plan. You know, you can't just fall into a fight. So everything is sort of planned, and we're looking at September. Hopefully, defend my title, which will keep me on track. And like, so I know the summer is a very quiet time with boxing and all that. Even though not so much now with fights in August and all that, but I sort of had my break. From January to now, so I'm going to be straight back into the gym a week or two after I get back. I'll be getting ready for September. Whereas if you said that to me a few years ago, that I had to train during the summer and I couldn't do what all the lads are doing, or I couldn't go on holidays, you know, I'd be saying I wasn't fighting. But now I've that penciled in already. I know exactly what I'm doing, so I have to. I'm 29 years of age now. No point kicking the stone up the road. This is the chance now to make it the next level.
You've got the next 3 or 4 years to push on now. That's it, yeah.
And like the safety nets are gone, as in you can't, if like I need to be beating Larry Fryers, you know, like as I said, there's nothing easy about it, but to get to the next level or to have people invest in me, even to invest in myself, I need to be above this level, and this is the start of another chapter, another journey with it. So, but again, there's nothing easy, and anything can happen in a fight, but in retrospect, it is just a stepping stone for me and moving forward.
Will you be able to watch this fight?
Yeah, it's on UFC Fight Pass. I think Murphy's have done a link done with Dana White. So King Casey and Dana White from Boston originally.
Yeah.
And I think they're close. You know, they're two high-profile men and involved in contact sports. So I think they're pretty close. And I think Dana and King Casey have a link or a partnership done that a lot of the
sounds like you're
fights
saying King Casey.
He sounds like he is the
King Casey.
King Casey.
King of Boston.
Yeah. So the partnership there will be live on UFC Fight Pass as well. So it's nice to. It's a good fight for people over here to be able to tune in and to watch. You know.
Cool.
Niall O'Connor's in the bill as well.
Niall O'Connor, yeah, I'm actually sparring him today. I've been sparring him for the last couple of weeks. He's probably the most improved boxer in Ireland. He's very competitive, very sharp, very strong. He's a tough fight against Luis Arcon, the Venezuelan Olympian. 9 wins, 9 KOs or something. But I'd quietly confident that Niall O'Connor could pull off the upset. You know, I rate him very highly.
For tipping on this show.
That's it.
I said
the casino.
put all them. I had everyone was sparring you, man.
Yeah, but you didn't ask me.
I know. They all said they were hammering him, so I just said go for Paulie. How'd you get on with him?
I got on very well with him. Yeah. No, I didn't. No, I would never. They don't be telling stories about sparring. We got on very well. We were working on drills with each other more so. That wasn't free sparring. We weren't out to kill each other. And he was unorthodox, so he did catch me with some shots as well. But in terms of boxing skill, he was limited, but he had enough boxing skill to definitely carry him through a fight. But bare knuckle boxing, I know nothing about it. You know, there's no way. But one of the nicest fellas I've ever met in the boxing scene was Artem with everything. So I was delighted that he got the win in the end.
Good stuff. Well, a few bits before we wrap up. Colin Nicotine is off. Nikitin, I should say, is off. Phil.
Never going to happen, is it? Again,
It's over now, yeah.
It was a fight that wasn't really on the same. They weren't on the same level. But it was just one. It was a nice
Good
one.
story, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And like you suspect that he was signed specifically just for this rematch, for this purpose.
Unless Nikitin like pulls off a huge upset against somebody down the line, and then
Mike is now can move on, push on, put it to bed because he's tried in all honesty to make the fight. So go on now, go on and move up the ranks.
I'm sure. Yeah, we don't know who he's going to fight next, but
I would have liked to see him with Kakachi. I know it came out of the blue, but I know Kakachi. I was on teams with him years ago, and he was one of the hardest hitters.
Awkward too.
Yeah, it would have been a great fight if they were a little bit closer in terms of ranking and all that. But a local derby like that would have caught the attention. I, for one, would have definitely went up to that one. I probably, I don't know what I'm going to do now, but that would have caught my attention. Maybe it's because I'm a boxing enthusiast and maybe not, I don't know, but I would have loved to have seen it. That was sort of a grudge match, even if anything. But I know there mightn't have been a lot out of it, a big risk and probably low reward, so probably the right option to get someone else in that he can climb the ranks with.
And on to wider matters. At this point, I'd like to thank our loyal fans and listeners, including Tyson Fury, who seems to enjoy some of Andy Lee's pearls of wisdom.
Do you want to know the truth?
Go on.
On that boxing match, I didn't do a thing Ben told me to do. Ben wanted me to go out and box and take him 6-7 rounds and let him get tired and all that, but I didn't want to. I wanted a knockout in America. When I go out for a knockout, if I've ever went somewhere for a knockout, in my mind I've never not got one. But when I go to slip and box, and I can do that too, but for some reason I wanted to knock Tom Schwartz out, make a statement in America and put on a show, because that's what they like. The Americans love a knockout. Andy Lee told me last year, the Americans love a knockout. They don't care when, how or why, but they love a knockout. And everyone was telling me, all the boxing promoters, so they love a knockout. And there's me thinking, well, I don't have that knockout style. So it was what it was. But I said to these boys, I said to Kevin Brendan in the thing, I said, I'm going to get him out of there quick. I said, it's going to be either him or me, because this is America and everyone wants to see an explosive performance. So that was that.
What was Ben's response to this then?
What?
To you kind of, not listening to him, but kind of doing your own thing, if you like?
What can he do? I got a good victory and it worked. My plan worked.
It's a job done.
Job done, in and out.
There you go, Tyson Fury off the BRAWL superfan. Happy with that, Andy?
Yeah.
He's listening to you over Ben Davison.
We're sending out messages here to all boxers. So listen, we want knockouts.
What does Ben, we're fans of Ben on this show, what do you think he makes of that Tyson just went out there and did his own thing?
I think that's just the...
keeping him on his toes.
Yeah, also the kind of, how can I say, the frame of mind that Tyson has, that he's always likely to do something in the moment that he what he feels, that he's heart will rule his head, and that's why he's in great fights all the time, like a lot of times. But yeah, it's good.
it was him or me. It was going to be him or me. Could you imagine it was him?
I know.
After what happened, Joshua.
And he said, and it did, like, Schwartz did throw a good left hook in the first round. But good job, Tyson.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah,
Should thank IFL TV for that clip. Just quickly on the middleweight scene, we didn't learn a whole lot. Demetrius Andrade, another, like, he started fast and then sort of reverted to type a little bit. Didn't really
How
blow
lucky, Andy.
Didn't blow anyone away.
Exactly, Dimitri. Come on, man. You were in the cronk. You know what the story is. Yeah. No, it's just, I recorded it and I fast forwarded through the whole show. Even Parker's fight. Once I seen a few rounds, I was forward through the whole thing and just seen that they're all going along like your fight. Could have got your man out of there really if he pressed the gas. He wasn't up too much. Parker couldn't stop him by his own merit, got a referee, and then you watch the first one, you go, this is it, here he is now, this is Andrade, this is what you want, this is the talent, this is the skill, this is what you want to see, put on a show, you know what I mean, first round, and then just drags it out.
He did the same thing in Boston. He knocked Count Dockwith down a couple of times and then just took his foot off the gas, coasted the last 9 rounds.
That guy was ready to go because he just couldn't take a punch, that guy who you mentioned. kept looking for the loop in left hand, just putting it down the pipe because it landed once, and even when it landed in the first round, it was kind of a shot on top of the head that kind of was kind of.
But you can't go and perform like that and then come out and start calling out Triple G or Canelo.
Nobody wants to see people are saying he does have some ardent fans, and they're saying he's not. How can you say he's boring? That he's a technical boxer and what he does is for the purists. But as Ray said, at some stage you have to entertain as well and put on the show.
Yeah.
I don't think he's affected by it. I don't think he really cares. I think he's won the fight and that's it now. But
You're Eddie Hearn though. Like how do you handle Andrade? Like
I don't know.
Are any of the other title holders going to want to fight?
What does he bring? Unless Eddie Hearn's going to throw huge money at them to fight him, because he doesn't look like a killer. He's going the distance with everybody. Like what?
But I think it's good for middleweights coming up. There's a man there to target for a world title. You know, like the rest of them, like
Can't really touch. Yeah.
you know, they're not touchable. But that's a
Jacobs
title.
Andrade is a good fight, isn't it?
Yeah, and Hearn promotes them.
They're buddies though. I think that might.
Come on, get in the
Put
ring.
it to one side.
I've fought our buddies before.
The WBC, have you seen this franchise belt that they've introduced? So basically Canelo's got his own special belt and Charlo has been given the WBC middleweight title, one of the most coveted titles in the history of boxing, has just been handed to...
I didn't see the fight, but apparently Charlo didn't look all that good.
No, like that could be a
Still has
fight.
a belt though.
Charlo against... Charlo Andrade could be a fight because no one wants to fight either of them, so maybe they can just fight each other.
I don't know, with the PBC DAZN crossover, I'm not sure if that will happen, but yeah.
And Canelo Golovkin seems to be in trouble. There's talk of Canelo against Kovalev now at 170, so
Interesting.
that's another cross-platform.
I'd actually like to see that fight. I don't care what people say. I want to see that fight. I don't really have much interest, as much as I hate to say it, in two great fights. And I would watch it any day of the week, but I think in terms of watching a fight, I think I'd prefer to watch Canelo versus Kovalev. Just for the crack.
There's an intrigue there. There's an unknown element to it, yeah.
Who did I hear? Oh, Golovkin Moniga. That's in the works. I've heard that could be something going on with that. I heard that Canelo might have a knee injury, ongoing knee injury. Remember, he had a surgery on the knee before, and that's why they might push with Kovalev at a later date. And for the September date, that'll be Golovkin against Jaime Moniga. Maybe Dennis
Moving
in
up,
the
so
card.
yeah.
That'll be a good fight, actually.
And did I hear as well, Billy Joe and Callum Smith, is that...
This has been talk about it, hasn't he, for a while?
I think Warren submitted an offer, but you know what these things are like. It's
Could be
Hearn and Warren trying to work together. It doesn't happen that often, but that would be a good fight.
Yeah, there's a lot of good fights out there in the middleweight, you know, because there's a lot of close styles and different styles that people like it. Boxing fans would love to see, you know.
That would be an unbelievable fight. Saunders against Callum Smith. It would be an unbelievable fight.
Who would you favour in that one?
Very hard to pick. Unbelievably hard to pick.
Callum at 168 would have the edge, wouldn't he?
But Billy's solid, like, and he's slippy, and he'd box around him, you know what I mean? But Callum's better than just what... He's actually better than he looks, you know what I mean? He's more than just in earmuffs, come forward, straight lines kind of a fighter. He's actually got a lot of grade to what he does, so... Like, if that could be pulled off, it's a blockbuster fight.
Yeah, I think he is the wild card. Callum Smith could beat a lot of guys, big names, so hopefully he gets a big fight. Last word to you, Ray. So just over a week to go. You excited? Is that the main emotion?
Absolutely. No, this is it. A boxer is excited when he's coming close to a fight. Yeah, this is where I want to be. Going over to America on one of the biggest stages I can be, fighting for a belt. Everything is going well in camp, and really excited and looking forward to it. And you know, I'm intrigued as well to see what the next phase is for me. You know, this is exactly where I need to be and where I want to be at this moment. So delighted with everything.
Prediction for the fight?
Pain.
A very entertaining fight, definitely, because he's coming to fight and I'm coming to fight, and if the chance comes to get him over there, I will take him out. As you told me, the Americans want to see him knockout.
That's the currency over there.
If you told Tyson Fury, I believe you, and it worked for him, so I'll definitely try it too.
2 rounds.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck. I'm sure we'll catch up after, and thanks a million for coming in.
No, at all. Thank you very much for having me now.
That's our lot for this week. Until next time, it's goodbye from us.